All right, Carol Joe, how do you feel about it? Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready too. I want to thank you all for gathering here today and appreciate the opportunity to worship with all of you on this Easter sunrise morning. We had advertised things leading up to this morning as a Dress Your Best Sunday. So, who here this morning dug through their closets over the past week or so and got something out that you hadn't normally worn in a while? If your husband has, come here a second. Let's take a look at this guy. His hand went up first. Let's see what we got here. Let me see. Stand, face everyone. Turn to your left. Turn to your right. Yeah, face forward. I like it. Very nice. Very nice. I see some pointing going on over here. Is this your normal outfit or is this something new for you? Had it before. When was the last time you wore it? On a cruise. Oh, yeah, you are a cruise people. That's right. Look at Mr. Gabe Schrader. Stand up for us. This looks like a new tie. Is this what is that? Like a Jesus thing on there? I like it. Nice job. Turn to the left, and then to the right, and then everybody. That's a nice job. Very nice. Looking good. Looking good. We wanted to, try to have some. Draghi got a tie on today. Where'd you find that? Did you find it out in the wood shop, or where'd you get that baby? Yeah, what's on there? Presidential signatures. Yeah, all presidential signatures. Very nice. I like it. I like it. Come here a second. Let's bring you. Look at this choir director here. Look at this. Oh, she's into. Look at this. She was just sitting there hoping. I hope he picks me. I hope he picks me. This is my 6:30 Dress Your Best. I have a whole nother outfit for 10 o'clock, so it'll be completely different. It wasn't about being uncomfortable, and it wasn't, oh boy, Patrick. Is that Patrick? Come on in, Patrick. Patrick came in right in the middle of, come here, everybody, here. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Patrick Schrader. Mr. Patrick Schrader. Come all the way up here. Oh, you got a name tag? There you go, right there. Whoa. Turn to your left, turn to the right, and give everybody one of these, because Sandy just did it. Doesn't he look nice this morning? Yes. You forgot a tie. Gabe's got a good one if you need it for later. It was about having some fun this morning and just doing just a little bit more in celebration of this particular morning, in which we talk about, we reflect upon all of the things that went into leading to this moment. And that was a birth, that was ministry, that was challenges, that was Last Suppers, that was dying on a cross, which comes then to this Easter morning in which we celebrate Jesus' resurrection. And so I thank you so much for joining us on this early hour at this time. We left the lights low this morning because we felt like the sun would just eventually kind of make its way in here. So if the lights seem just a little bit dim, that's intentional. I want to mention just a few people within our congregation and friends of the congregation as well has some prayer concerns. Many of you know Miss Carol Abbott, who died earlier this week. Carol's wishes were to have no services, no funeral, no anything special like that. But still, we offer our condolences to her and her family. Some of you know Jack Hahn. You may know some of the Hahn family with Hahn Excavating. Jack died earlier this week as well. His funeral service will be Tuesday at 10 a.m. That service will be at Pierre Funeral Home. A good friend of mine that some of you may know from around Evansville with some restaurants that he owned and things like that, Mr. Tony Weller, remains in hospice care. And also, I wanted to mention any of our members, our friends of the congregation, who are unable to be with us here on these Sunday morning gatherings because they find themselves in some sort of alternative residence, a nursing home, a retirement home, or something like that. We hope that they are able to join us in some special way or to see this gathering later, our prayers and our thoughts certainly remain with them. Concerning the rest of the morning, the Easter egg hunt will take place following our 10 o'clock service. One of the other things that's going to take place before 10 a.m. is we're going to have a little bit of a petting zoo in the foyer. There are some rabbits and ducks coming that represent new life as well. We hope nothing gets loose. We went away from chickens because chickens were beginning to hop and fly a little bit, so we didn't know maybe we'd be in the middle of a very intimate moment and a chicken would suddenly enter the sanctuary. But the Easter egg hunt will take place right after worship today. And if you have children, or if you're here and you'd like to come back for that Easter egg hunt, we'd really love to have you. Following our gathering here, and you're probably going to start smelling some of the bacon that was made yesterday as it starts to warm up. Eggs, what else is on the menu down there, Julie? Fruit, ham, biscuits and gravy, all the drinks, all that good stuff. We'd invite you to come down and join us. There's a whole bunch of youth downstairs right now getting everything ready for you. Our confirmants will celebrate their first communion at 10 o'clock and will partake in this communion ritual. There's something about 10 o'clock that I can't completely tell you. And I'm not saying that to try to get you to be here at 10 o'clock. Remember, there are other ways to watch the 10 o'clock service. You don't have to come back into the building. You can be here at 6:30 and you can go wherever you want to be and then join us in a different way. There's a really, really special gift that's going to be presented to the congregation through the children. That'll make a lot more sense when I'm able to do that and share that with you. It was a very generous gift by a member of our congregation, and these gifts are intended for the children and specifically for the children, but these gifts will remain in the sanctuary. That's another part of our 10 o'clock gathering that's a little bit different than normal. I just say that because I'm really looking forward to being able to give those gifts, and I kind of want you to be a part of it as well if you choose to do so. These are our words. Remember, over the last several weeks, we've been asking you to share words as you were leaving the sanctuary. What words you might use to describe our church, what words you might use to help drive the church council in the direction and decisions that it will make. The larger words that show up when you create something like this are the words that showed up most frequently, and then it moves to smaller words. And so you can see our primary words this year are love, family, hope, and community. It's not that the other words aren't important, but those words didn't come in quite as frequently. We'll continue to show this, and I'll post this online, so it's available to you to look at a little bit more closely if you would like to do so. So with that being said, I want to thank you all once again so much for joining me here. We hope that you enjoy and have an incredible experience over the next 30 minutes or so before we conclude and then make our way out into the rest of the day. May God's presence inspire you, may God's presence lead you, and may the power of the resurrection be a moment that helps you move through your challenging times to those new beginnings and those new opportunities. Blessings to you all. Would you please stand as we join together in an opening prayer, followed by our opening hymn, which is going to be on our screen, our hymn number 206 in your hymnals. We share this prayer this morning together. God of the morning light, God of Easter miracles, open our hearts to hear once again the story of love overcoming death, of joy drowning out sorrow, of hope emerging from despair. Bring Easter to this moment. Touch us, fill us, use us. You have made us free to give you praise and thanksgiving. You have our undying devotion for the grace we receive. All our lives long, we shall call your name blessed and give you the glory for this gift of new life. Amen. Let's sing. Please be seated. I want to read with you this morning from the Gospel of Matthew. I chose this particular story of the resurrection because of 4 words, and those four words are "do not be afraid." If you've ever been like me and have doubted or thought that there was something that you couldn't accomplish or something that you couldn't do, or you were afraid of doing something, there are moments in which we can look back on our lives and maybe wonder why we were afraid in that moment. But we might also then be thinking about something that's upcoming and be afraid that we might not be able to accomplish that particular goal. I encourage you to look back over your life and to always allow yourself to give yourself some credit for what you've accomplished and to think about all that you've done and to not be afraid. The disciples and those that were gathered at the tomb that day were frightened at what they experienced, but not everyone. The story goes this way. After the Sabbath, as the first day of the week was dawning, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary went to see the tomb, and suddenly there was a great earthquake. For an angel of the Lord descending from heaven came and rolled back the stone and sat on it. His appearance was like lightning, and his clothing white as snow. For fear of him, the guards shook and became like dead men. But the angel said to the women, "Do not be afraid. I know that you're looking for Jesus who was crucified. He is not here, for he has been raised, as he said. Come and see the place where he lay. Then go quickly and tell his disciples, he has been raised from the dead, and indeed he is going ahead of you to Galilee, and there you will see him. This is my message for you." So they left the tomb quickly with fear and great joy and ran to tell his disciples. And suddenly Jesus met them and he said, "Greetings." And they came to him. They took hold of his feet and they worshiped him. And then Jesus said to them again these words, "Do not be afraid. Go and tell my brothers to go to Galilee. There they will see me." Here ends the reading this morning from our Holy Gospel. Thanks and praise be to God. Sandy, choir. All right. Thank you, Brian. How are you this morning, Brian? You doing all right? What's been the best thing about your morning so far? Oh, look at that. That's right. Okay. Is that now the best thing of your morning so far? Excellent. I think you're going to have a lot of great moments today. They're just beginning. They're just beginning. Last night, I was doing my laundry. Anybody here ever do their own laundry? Oh, look at that. You're in the best seat in the house as that sun just came in the window. That's right. Isn't that excellent? Doing my laundry and was thinking about today and all of those things that come with a day like today. And I was watching the NASCAR truck race in Bristol. Anybody else watching that race last night? Goodness gracious. I got to come up with some better examples, don't I? I was watching the truck race at Bristol, and one of the comments that was made was how some drivers can perceive how the field may open, how the cars may move, or what track they might need to run, whether they're running low, they're running in the middle of the field, or they're running high on the bank. And it depends on how their car's doing. But there's a lot of perception that goes into how things feel. And so I thought, I probably need to do something with that for this morning. And so I changed this 6:30 message to fit what I heard concerning the NASCAR truck race at Bristol and that statement. Do you perceive it? Do you perceive it? And it has a lot to do with what you feel. It has a lot to do with what you perceive and how what you perceive makes you feel. And I remembered a story that Fred Craddock told in one of his sermons. He said this. It's the story of a family who was driving home on a country road, and the children spotted a kitten on the side of the road. Somebody may have abandoned, somebody maybe had left there, maybe it had got separated from the litter, and the kitten looked like it'd been there a while. It looked like our dog that we currently have when we rescued it. Been out on the street for a while, hadn't been feeling well, wasn't very healthy at all. And the children said, "Stop the car." And they wanted to take the cat home. But like most fathers do, they initially what when it comes to pets? Protest, right? No, we already have a zoo at home. We don't need another pet. There's no room for one more animal. But what happens to fathers a lot of times when children continue to kind of persist? Pulled the car over in the middle of the road, got up, got out to pick up the kitten. And as he got closer to that kitten, it was apparent that it was even more sick than it looked like from the car. Ribs were showing. You could tell that it hadn't eaten, maybe drank really anything good for a while. Fur was matted. And he reached out to pick up the kitten, and it took a swipe at his hand. You know how cats can hiss, you know? And he was frustrated because he didn't want this cat in the first place. He didn't want to stop the car. He didn't want to get out and get this cat anyway, but he did, and now he got scratched, and then he just wanted to walk away and get back in the car. But the children said, "Dad." Well, he went back, and he picked up the cat by the scruff of its neck, wrapped it in his jacket, and when they arrived at home, the father insisted on making a place for the cat in the parents' room so that the rest of the zoo didn't bother it for a while. It needed time for adjusting. Well, it didn't take very long with a little bit of care, with a little bit of food, with a little bit of love, with a little bit of companionship, that the cat became stronger. It's actually turned out to be a pretty beautiful cat. And one day the father, who didn't want anyone to notice what he was doing because he didn't want the cat in the first place anyway, so he wanted to make sure no one could see him and no one was peeking around the corner, he gently put his hand down in front of the cat to pet the cat. And instead of being scarred by the claws of that cat, it just nuzzled up against his hand and began to purr. Imagine with me now, for a few minutes, God reaching out to one of us and us noticing on that hand there are scars and there are scratch marks. Jesus reflects that hand. Jesus' spirit matches God's spirit. But the one thing about that spirit that I think we perceive, that I think we know, and that I think we really, really trust is that God doesn't give up. And God's not afraid. And neither does Jesus. God's love never ends, nor does Christ's love end for us, even in the ugliest times and the times in our lives in which we need transformation. That first Easter began about dawn, when people made their way out to the tomb. Imagine with me that moment. Heavy sadness. Have you ever had something come in your way that you didn't want to do? You were just dreading? You just didn't want to experience? One of those moments in my life that I'll never forget, and it was so long ago it seems like, because it probably was, goodness, I'm not 24 anymore, I'm just 26, was when I graduated from high school and I was going to go to college. I knew what time I had to leave to be down to school, to get checked into my dorm and all that kind of stuff because practices were to start. My mother had to work, so I didn't want to leave until she got home because I wanted to say goodbye. But I was dreading that all day. Ever had one of those moments? I got to say goodbye. I'm going to have to leave. I'm going to have to do something different. I'm going to have to go. I have to. I know I do. And it was sad. But we did it. In the midst of that sadness and in the midst of that challenge, ultimately something changed throughout all of it. In the Gospel of John's version of the resurrection, there's a whole lot of running and there's a whole lot of confusion. There's a whole lot of weeping, and then there's something else. There's joy. When Mary found the tomb open and she ran to tell the others, like my mom got home and I was waiting for her and we gave each other a hug and we cried and then I said goodbye. Driving down the road thinking, why didn't I just leave and avoid all of this? There was joy. There was joy. Because other people begin to appear in our lives that we recognize love us very, very much. There was someone at the tomb that morning for the women who were worried that Jesus, for some reason, had been stolen. Why was he gone? And they were reassured. And they recognized again the power of the Spirit and the promise that he gave, that he lives. In the midst of tears, and in the midst of any confusion that we might be living through in our own lives, the power of the resurrection has an opportunity to continue to transform us yet today. And Jesus calls us by our name. Jesus comes to you wherever you are. But the question that we must ask, I believe, is what do we ache for? And what do we long for? What do we perceive our hearts leading us toward? Because if we don't ask those hard questions, we might miss the new thing that God's doing in our lives. For those of you that were here throughout Monday, Thursday, and Good Friday, you heard me share some things that were deeply personal. And you heard me share some things that made me incredibly vulnerable to you. And I said at those gatherings, I was okay doing that, if you remember, because I trust you. Because I feel like you love me. And I feel like you care about me. And I hope you feel the same about how I feel toward you. We shared those moments because if we are willing to do that hard stuff, that really, really hard stuff, when it comes to a morning like this, we can feel some of the power that comes from some spirit beyond that helps us perceive that even in the midst of what seems to be devastating, what at the moment seems to be insurmountable, what in the moment feels like I'm never going to be able to do that, I'm not a good enough person, I have no talent, I don't even belong in this same category, that spirit helps us to perceive again, to not be afraid, and to move forward. Resurrection comes, in many cases, at those most confusing and questioning times. It's full of surprises, and it's full of tears, and it's full of sadness, and it's full of all of that. I encourage you all to watch NASCAR truck races because you can get a lot out of them. If you just listen to a few things that are being shared. Isaiah, the prophet Isaiah, tells us this, I'm about to do a new thing. And this is why I really liked what I heard. Because after the prophet Isaiah says, I'm about to do a new thing, he continues with these words. Do you not perceive it? And so I want you to repeat that with me after a few statements that I would like to make. God transforms our Good Fridays into Easter mornings, and God is doing a new thing. Say it with me. Do you not perceive it? God calls us to let go of the many deaths that we experience in our lives, and the deaths to new things, the deaths to dreams, all of those deaths in so many ways. God calls us to go to the tomb, to go to that moment, to go to that place, but then to walk away from it. For there's life beyond that tomb. God is doing a new thing. Do you not perceive it? God offers us new sight, new visions, new opportunities, new goals, new dreams, new doors to walk through. For God continues to do a new thing. Do you not perceive it? We're so used to, I do this so much. Maybe you do as well. Looking at the world in one way. Looking at the world through our own lens. Looking at the world through our own perspectives. That sometimes we miss Jesus standing right in front of us, opening up new opportunities to new places. When we look at the tomb, one of the things that we can see is this broken Jesus. But if we look at the tomb from another perspective, we know that there is life, and we know that there are new beginnings, and that God is doing a new thing. Do you not perceive it? I love mornings like this because it helps me, and I hope it does you as well, to understand that God takes our hearts and helps them grow into something that leads us forward. God takes dead ends and makes them into new roads. We got some dirt moving people here with us this morning, about 6, 8 rows back. I don't know, the Hans are with us this morning. You know what it means to make a new road. And so John, Camden, is Caden here with you or not? Or was he, what's going on? Where's Caden? Tell him I'm ticked now, okay? Tell him my Easter's not what it could have been. I want you to think about something when you're out making a new road and you're on that big excavator and you're grading something level or you're making something out of what wasn't there. I want you to be thinking about that new thing. I want you to be thinking about that new beginning. And I want you to continue to think about the future. We're going to talk about that a little bit on Tuesday when we celebrate your grandpa, when we celebrate your dad. He started that dream, didn't he? He kind of started that opportunity. And you're all living it now. What dreams are you guys going to start for that next generation of people? What roads are you going to pave? What things are we going to do? What dreams are we going to seek to live out for the sake of our community and our church and others that will be here after us? The power of this empty tomb is not just Jesus coming back to life. It's the story of Jesus coming back to life and inspiring us to continue to do the same in so many different ways. Do you not perceive it? I remembered as I was concluding this short reflection about an experience that I read about a family who was attending an Easter vigil in Tanzania. Sometimes when you go to other locations and you worship's a little bit different than we do it. I was invited to preach one time when I was in Puerto Rico, and for those of you that haven't ever been at a worship service down that far south, plan on your morning, okay? Plan on announcements taking about 45 minutes. Plan on the worship service being 3 or 4 hours. They were at an Easter vigil, and they experienced something new. First of all, the vigil began at night, and it ended at dawn. And when the sun came up, and when the sun came across wherever they were gathered, the music started. You don't have to start the music yet. We don't have this type of music. I don't know if we're going to be able to do it. The music started, and everybody began to dance in their own style of dance. John Moy is going to lead us this morning in dancing. So John, I know your back's bothering you, but I'm thankful that you were willing to lead us in this morning Easter sunrise dance. Is your back not feeling good today? Marvin's going to do it. Marvin's going to do it. I simply want to conclude with these words. Let's do all that we can to continue to let this day inspire our souls to dance and rejoice in the fact that death does not win, life does. And so let's do the same. Let's choose life and let's live life to its fullest. Welcome to Easter Sunday morning, everyone. May all you do today, and may all you do tomorrow, and may all that you do the rest of your life be done with feeling and heart in a manner in which you perceive God leading you forward. Blessings to all of you. Blessings to each and every one of you. Amen. Would you please join with me in a moment of prayer? Dear gracious Lord, we've gathered here on this Easter Sunday morning. We thank you so much for the sunshine. We thank you so much for the warmer weather. We thank you so much for the warm hearts and the lovely souls that have filled this sanctuary today, and for all those who are joining us virtually. We welcome everyone's presence here on this beautiful morning. We've journeyed through some tough times. We've journeyed through some challenging moments. Lent and this season has brought us experiences that many of us haven't expected. Sometimes we've been surprised. Sometimes we've been challenged. But many, many times we've been so blessed. Help us to continue to see those blessings and to see those relationships and to see those opportunities right before us, leading us into whatever future we perceive that you have designed for us. Take us from this place to the next with love in our hearts and an appreciation for the one that is risen again on this Easter morning, Jesus Christ. We honor you, gracious Lord, today. We honor your Son with these words when together we say, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. I invite you to join as we close today with singing the hymn, He Lives. May the God of resurrection be the God that keeps you moving forward. May this Easter morning be an inspiration to you today and tomorrow and always. Our worship gathering here this morning at Zion Lippe United Church of Christ has ended. Let our service now begin. Amen.